Key considerations when selecting a distribution partner: correctable gaps in product launch and commercialization processes, evolving requirements for 3PL. What are pharmaceutical manufacturers seeking in third-party logistics providers? And where do 3PL providers still have room for growth? Join us to find out. In the Know starts now. Hello and welcome to In the Know, your source for insight and analysis on the issues that matter to our dynamic healthcare market. I'm your host, Gina Clark. Today we examine how the role of 3PL providers has changed in recent years, as well as the impact that larger issues like REMS and the national economy are having on small and mid-sized pharmaceutical companies. We will also talk about how advances in technology have impacted manufacturer expectations about the services they receive. Joining us today are Tracy Franklin, Senior Director of Client Services for ICS, and Rusty Robertson, Senior Manager of Program Management for ICS. Tracy and Rusty, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having us, Gina.
Thanks for having us.
When a pharma company is evaluating its commercial operations processes, what are the top 3 things that it needs to consider when selecting a distribution partner?
I think first and foremost is determining what level of service you're looking for. Are you looking for a best-in-class offering, or are you looking for a bare-bones solution? Do you need GMP, or are you just looking for somebody to pick, pack, and ship out of their garage? Likely not the case, but certainly something to consider. I think the second point would be cost. Certainly greatly impacted by your decision on the first point, but those are things that have to be considered depending on what level of service you want. I think the third thing is really the reputation of the provider that you're looking for. ICS tends to let their prospective clients interact or talk to their existing clients to determine, what are they satisfied with the service level that they're providing.
Are there key areas of the commercial operations process that you don't see enough attention paid to? And where are the common gaps that need greater focus as products are prepared for launch and commercialization?
I think the 2 areas where our customers seem to struggle a little bit, the first is licensure. Typically, that's something that winds up being an afterthought, and they wind up right before launch thinking, oh, maybe we need some licenses for this, and many clients have struggled with that and had limited distribution abilities there because they didn't have license in certain states. I think the second thing that we've seen is not really understanding the level of data they're going to be able to obtain from their customers. They're signing fee-for-service agreements with the wholesalers, and the wholesalers are providing 850 to 867 data, but in many instances that data is blinded and not providing the level of detail that I think the clients would be looking for.
So how has the decline in the national economy impacted the work of your clients?
Well, unfortunately, our clients, like just about everyone else today, have felt the impact of the downturn in the economy. We've seen the impact in various ways. It could be as simple as a reduction in the sales force that the manufacturer uses to promote their product out on the street, or a reduction in the sales force internally, where we see our main point of contact suddenly wearing multiple hats, many more hats than they wore or that they originally might have signed up for. What that means for us in turn, as their 3PL provider, is that our program management team is now tasked with acting much more collaboratively. They're helping people that aren't necessarily experts in the areas that they're now tasked with being responsible for. So we have to be all to fewer people.
So are you seeing this economic climate having an effect on what your clients ask of you, or to the extent to which they rely on you?
I would say yes, absolutely. I think in many instances we're dealing with smaller startup companies where they're not building the infrastructure themselves. They don't have the funding to do so. So they're asking us as their 3PL provider to be their one-stop shop, where we provide the infrastructure, whether it be in the financial area, in the IT area, or in the customer service area. So they are definitely looking to us to provide a more rounded approach to the service offering.
In what ways has the role of the 3PL provider changed in recent years, and to what do you attribute these changes?
I think the role has changed. It's evolved slowly over time, but more quickly over the past few years into a one-stop shop approach. Manufacturers are coming to us wanting us to be their full service provider and going above and beyond the standard offerings that we had once offered to them and that they were happy with. They want to have one point of contact to go to, one invoice to pay, one service provider to work with on a daily basis rather than spreading themselves thin because they're spread so thin internally themselves.
How do you see 3PL providers continuing to evolve to meet new needs among pharma clients in terms of new services or complementary services?
I think that's a really good point, and it's something that we're challenged with every day today. It's a very challenging marketplace in that the manufacturer partners we deal with are looking for us to offer every service possible, whether it be that they say that our competition offers that service or that it's something that they've thought of or come up with that on their own as an innovative approach to manage their business. What we try to do, though, and I think it's a very good approach that ICS takes, is we don't necessarily dive into a new service offering simply because our competition offers it or because one or two clients feel the need for that. We do our due diligence and ensure that it makes sense for ICS to get into that business, that we will continue to be able to provide best-in-class service if we go into offering that service and we don't set ourselves up for failure. We're not in the business of ruining the reputation we've worked so hard to create in the industry.
In what ways are new REMS requirements influencing the way pharma companies work with 3PL providers and the expertise required of companies like yours?
Well, I think that ICS, along with its sister companies of ABSG, have positioned themselves very well in the marketplace when it comes to providing services that are related to REMS programs. Whether that REMS program be very simplistic in nature, where just strictly medical education is necessary, or right down to the more intense versions where the distribution is very restricted as to which patient can receive the product, which physician can prescribe that product, and what site is authorized to receive the product. So we work in collaboration with some of the sister companies and do so very well, offering hub programs where we go right through to distribution and providing the back-end data that is so critical to provide back to the FDA to ensure compliance with the REMS programs. And I think right now that ABSG and ICS are very well respected for the work they do with REMS programs in the marketplace.
So what new challenges and opportunities do innovative technologies present to the 3PL marketplace?
I think the opportunity is for increased automation and efficiency within the supply chain and distribution. I think the challenge, much like anything else, is all around cost. Technology certainly is expensive to implement, although you're going to have a lot of outlay initially with the cost, but you're going to reap those rewards as you get a little further down the line.
Has technology been able to keep pace with customer needs for commercial operations? And do you see this changing in the coming years?
I think that's a very challenging question to answer, but I think the simple answer is no, and I think one example of that would be the serialization initiative. California came out and said, we really want a serialization initiative to help us ensure a safe supply chain, and unfortunately the laws that they put in place weren't able to be supported by the supply chain, and had we tried to implement those changes, it would have ground the supply chain to a halt from a cost perspective and a productivity perspective. I think the technology is doing a good job of trying to keep up with that now, and hopefully at some point in the near future we'll have a solution that we can implement and will ensure safety for all of our patients.
We've seen the 3PL space grow rather crowded in recent years. To what do you attribute this growth, and how will the full service providers differentiate themselves from those who are just trying to capitalize on an expanding market?
I think the industry itself has been a little bit insulated from the economy. Certainly we've seen some impacts due to the economy, but I think the 3PL space has continued to grow as other companies see an opportunity to get into an expanding marketplace. I think the way that ICS has been able to differentiate themselves is to continue to offer best-in-class service by the process of continuous improvement. Our ISO certification kind of differentiates us from the competition, and that shows our desire to continue to be a best-in-class offering and continue to improve that process.
Tracy and Rusty, thanks for taking the time to discuss this with us today. This has been outstanding.
Thanks very much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you for joining us. We'll be back soon with an all-new webisode. Until then, if it's on your mind, it's in the know.